feel bad for you.
I don't think about you at all.
In 2004, Alexander Payne blessed us with one of my favorite movies of all time. Actually, let me back that up. In 2004, I remember my parents coming home from the movies just laughing it up at how much fun they had watching Sideways, a film that they explained to me was for grown-ups and was all about wine. So fast forward to my college years and I tried watching the movie myself. About 10 minutes in, my friends and I decided that it was hot garbage and we shut it off. So several years later, I'm a little older, I'm a little wiser, I know how to use a corkscrew, and my buddy Tyler was crowing about the film. Isn't Sideways terrible? I asked him. Dude, no way. It's a movie where Paul Giamatti is a complete alcoholic but thinks being a wine enthusiast makes it okay. And somehow this fresh perspective gave me a remarkable new interest in the film. Since then, it's become one of my favorite movies of all time. Sideways is an Academy Award-winning film following two 40-something-year-old best friends, Miles and Jack, on a week-long bachelor party bender through the Santa Ynez wine country. Miles is a struggling writer and alcoholic disguised as a wine connoisseur, and Jack is an out-of-work actor about to tie the knot. It's based off of a novel by the same name that the film's director, Alexander Payne, read the entirety of on a flight home from a film festival.
I liked the people in it. I liked how flawed and pathetic those two guys are, and I don't know, there was just a lot of both patheticness and pathos and humor about the characters and the situations.
It is a hilarious drama that breathes an incredible amount of life into two of the most pathetic characters you'll ever meet. And even though it came out nearly 20 years ago, I haven't seen anything like it since. It's comforting at times, yet still so painfully awkward at others. You'll feel just about every feeling there is throughout this movie, and I assure you it only gets more enjoyable on each consecutive watch. So maybe you've never seen it, or maybe you didn't like it the first time, or maybe you love the movie and are just here seeking some validation. Regardless, here are 5 reasons why you, dear viewer, should watch Sideways. Now, you're not going to come out of this movie a sommelier or anything, but there are plenty of interesting tidbits you can pick up on while watching. From wine tasting technique to grape harvesting and even why certain wines are specific to different regions, Sideways covers it all. It's certainly handy that one character is an expert on wine and the other doesn't know shit, so we get an in-universe explanation about why Miles is teaching us. The film had a very real impact on the wine industry too. In the year following the movie's release, Pinot Noir, the main character's drink of choice, saw its sales increase by 20% in the region, while Merlot, a wine that Miles does not appreciate, saw its sales decrease significantly. So maybe this movie can give you some inspiration to get a little more interested in vino. But let me add, while I think a healthy, responsible appreciation of the craftsmanship of winemaking is totally worth exploring, the movie does plenty to warn you that alcoholism is a very real, very scary thing. Everyone in this movie is on their A game, with especially memorable performances from Virginia Madsen and the Sandman himself, Thomas Hayden Church. Spectacularly enough, none other than George Clooney campaigned for the role of Jack. But Alexander Payne rightfully chose Church, even though he had to coax him out of retirement in order to do so. Apparently the dude went as far as to strip naked during his audition, since that was what the script called for. What I love about each actor's portrayal is that their innate personalities constantly challenge one another. They differentiate themselves so much to the point where conflict is inevitable. You need believable performances all around if characters are going to be butting heads, and there's so much natural conflict unfolding in each scene. There really isn't anything explained to you outside of that. Everything we need to know just plays out through a boys' trip in wine country, and it's all uncovered through prudent and often very funny conversation. It's a pretty good testament to your writing if your audience can describe each character in detail after a single viewing. And again, all of this characterization is shown, not told. It doesn't feel like you're doing homework. You could even mentally check out while watching, and I'll still bet you'll learn more about Jack, Miles, Stephanie, and Maya than you know about your next door neighbor. The Santa Barbara wine country is absolutely fucking beautiful. Known for their red wines like Pinot Noir, the Santa Ynez Valley has exceptional vineyards and plenty of great restaurants and tasting rooms. I'm so glad the cinematography and direction of this movie showcase how stunning the place is, because it totally lives up to the hype. All of the wineries are freaking epic, with my personal favorite being Press Keel, even though it's not featured in the movie. However, if you're a sideways purist, you can go to Kalira Winery where Sandra Oh's character works, or Fest Parker where Miles gets completely trashed. There's also Los Olivos, a really cool town filled with tasting rooms, and the Los Olivos Cafe, where Miles gets completely trashed. While you're in the region, be sure to check out Solvang, the Danish capital of America, with tons of awesome bakeries and shops. And in Buellton, you can stay at the same motel from the movie, which has been rebranded as the Sideways Inn. And of course, visit the world famous Hitching Post, where Miles gets completely trashed. It's all just under 2 hours from LA, and I think it's some of the best California has to offer, especially in terms of a weekend getaway. And even if you're not into wine, there's biking, horseback riding, ostrich farms, hiking, and even an olive ranch. Sideways expertly crafts a story around the midlife crisis for its lead characters. There's just something so entrancing about watching two losers slowly come to terms with themselves. Maybe it's the juxtaposition of their differing personalities, even when at the core they're actually quite similar. Both Miles and Jack are unsuccessful, indulgent, dishonest, and struggle with relationships. But while one is so pessimistic about life and has absolutely no self-confidence, the other is completely the opposite. Miles struggles with low self-esteem, self-loathing, anxiety, feelings of inadequacy, and regret around his failed marriage. Only in his 40s, but so fearful about moving on with his life in any meaningful direction. He thinks it's over for him, and we as the audience can kind of see why.
Paul Giamatti's performance is just beyond, to me even today. And he has there's a ponderous, forlorn quality that's he's never self-pitying, and that's what I love about his performance. He's never self-pitying. He just accepts loneliness and his own insecurities. He accepts them.
Jack, on the other hand, is a totally different story. So there is this little bit of dialogue in the movie that I think concisely demonstrates the uncertainty, the confusion, and the identity crisis of growing older that we are all destined to face at some point. Early on, it's made clear through his mansion in Brentwood and the money he spent on him that Jack's father-in-law is incredibly wealthy. It's also made clear that Jack's acting career is something of a joke. Nonetheless, he delivers a little speech about his plans for his future.
Christine's dad, he's really been talking to me about bringing me into his property business, showing me the ropes. Which is something, considering how long it took him to get over my not being Armenian. So I'm thinking about it. But, I don't know. Might get a little incestuous. But Mike does great. A lot of high-end commercial stuff.
So you're gonna stop acting?
No way. No.
So instead of working for his ultra-successful father-in-law, this unemployed man-child in his 40s, this Joey Tribbiani motherfucker, insists he is still an actor. Like, bro, are you serious? What's behind door number 3? A contract with the Chicago Bulls? But that's just it. These guys are both so unsure and so disappointed in themselves. I'm struggling to think of another movie that captures self-doubt so well. Denial isn't just a river in Egypt, my friends. Through a lot of emotional and despicable, yet still funny moments, we come to learn that douchebags are people too. They may not deserve our sympathy, but they have familiar feelings. And even while their actions are atrocious, we can empathize when they experience fear or sadness. Growing older can be scary, but the film shows us it's not too late to have dreams, to find love, to learn lessons, and to continue to try again. At some point, we've all felt unaccomplished, dealt with career struggles, been broke, or experienced heartache. We are all capable of having our own identity crises at any age. And the film shows us that there are both healthy and unhealthy ways to cope with that stress. But acceptance is the most important part of the journey, and it really might not be as bad as we all think it is. A common complaint I get from people is that the movie is depressing. And yeah, parts of it absolutely are, but only because somehow the creators made us actually care about what's going on. And while it is sad to watch every character fail at love in some way, by the end we learn no matter the number of mistakes you've made, it's never too late to start trying again. Breakups are hard, meeting people is hard, dating shitty liars is hard, and after you've been scarred by any of those, letting somebody new in is really hard. Vulnerability's role in finding love is a central theme here. And although I've spent much of the time focused on Jack and Miles, the female characters are going through it too. We feel for Stephanie when she opens her heart up so much for a total fuckboy like Jack and falls so passionately for his bullshit. And with very little context, we understand a lot about Maya. Like Miles, she's divorced, but unlike Miles, she's still giving life a chance. She's working and she's going back to school, and she seems more excited to know about what she really wants this time around. She is kind and thoughtful and honest. Her mistakes in love haven't left her bitter and hopeless.
And when I started to read the part of Maya, I was like, that's what Maya is. Maya is serenity.
Look, it isn't perfect. It can get pretentious and even overly juvenile at times. There are scenes that are just so hard to watch, they're that uncomfortable. You need to be able to laugh at the main characters and what shitty people they are instead of judging them, so you may feel a bit cynical or condemnatory by the end. I think I've mentioned this before in my videos, but I like when writers don't try to backdoor some weak justification for their characters' flaws and misbehavior, so it all works for me. I'd rather just accept that some people suck and then watch the story unfold.
Shut up, shut up, shut up! Jesus Christ, man, what the hell is wrong with you? Please, just shut up! Fuck!
But regardless of all of that, I do think it's a film that is worth your time, especially if you have interest in visiting the region. It's entertaining, it's funny, it's real, and the original score is a 10 out of 10. So in the comments, please let me know your thoughts. Have you seen Sideways? If you haven't, did I convince you to give it a shot? If you have, did you like it or did you think it was a bit too obnoxious? Also, if you've been to the Santa Ynez, let me know if there are any great things to do that you recommend. And thanks so much for checking out this video. I really appreciate all of the support.